Cisco Secure Firewall, security intelligence configuration. So we're going to be going through learning how to configure inside the FMC, the Firewall Management Center, one of the easier threat defense mechanisms that's available with Cisco Secure Firewall. Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer. I work for Cisco Systems, but the opinions, configurations, and security techniques shared in this video are entirely my own personal perspective. They don't represent Cisco's official views or policies, and this video isn't an official Cisco publication or a replacement for standard Cisco documentation. Always test configurations thoroughly in your own environment. So what is security intelligence as it applies to Cisco firewalls? It's basically lists of known malicious IP addresses, URLs, and domains. And we can even customize this a lot too. We can add our own list to the security intelligence feature that will block both inbound and outbound. What's kind of cool about security intelligence is that it blocks bidirectionally. If we configure um, firewall to block, to these various lists, like the list to malicious IP addresses, an outside to inside connection is blocked by the firewall, and an inside to outside. So even if a user on the inside tries to connect to a known bad site, it will be blocked by security intelligence too. So it's actually kind of a cool feature. It works bidirectionally here. Now, there are other types of lists we can add in and leverage inside of Cisco Secure Firewall, customized ones that we can use unidirectionally, actually in an access control policy or something like that. But for right now, we're going to be covering the security intelligence ones. We'll cover some of those other methodologies for those large lists in other videos. One of the other things I want to call attention to here is that these lists are not static. Cisco is continuously updating these lists based on recent intelligence and providing that information down to us so that our secure firewall devices can continuously update with all this known malicious activity that's going on in an environment. So if somebody comes up with a new attacker IP address and Cisco finds out about it, it's going to add it to that list, and that list is going to be dynamically fed to your FMC and then pushed down to your FTD. So let's jump right into the configuration. So here's where you start when you open up the FMC and your basic summary dashboard. In order to mess around with security intelligence settings, we're actually going to go to the policies themselves. We're going to go over here to Policies, Access Control. And you can see I've got a base policy and a sub-policy that's actually attached to my device. You can actually have several sub-policies underneath here, or child policies, that can adopt all of the policies that are in the base policy. So you would only have to set it once and not set all of these things for the different things below it. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to go in the base policy, and we're going to set security intelligence right here. I'm going to see it with a little green dot. We're going to go up here to security intelligence, and I don't have anything really configured here yet. It's probably what yours looks like when you first fire this thing up. We're going to go down to what we're looking for. And there's something called attackers. That's the first group. There's 27 security intelligence groups inside of there we go. There's attackers, the first one there. You can see we got banking fraud, bogans, bots, command and control. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the first one there called attackers, which it currently says there's 7,767 objects. We're going to scroll down and we're looking for exit nodes. We click on that one. Now we've got all 27 tagged. So what's in here? These are going to be the IP addresses of known malicious attackers that are out there on the general internet. And since they're all internet routable, the only zone we really need to attach this to, in this case, is going to be the outside zone. Now, you may call yours something else besides outside, but this is basically the connection to the internet at this point. Because these IP addresses, since they're all internet routable and you're probably using RFC 1918 on your inside address, so if you're going from like your inside network to your DMZ network or inside network to your data center network, you don't really need to go through the security intelligence list. So we're just going to apply all of these to the outside zone. Now, by default, it's probably going to go to any, and a lot of people set it to that, and then it's going to look through all the zones, from one zone to the next zone for all of this. It's not really a huge impact on the processor, but this makes it a little more optimized, and this is really the only place that we need to do this. So we're going to add these to the block list. And something else some people miss that I've seen working with my customers is you see the networks. Well, there's an equivalent 27 groups underneath here for URLs. You're going to see URL attackers, and we're going to scroll down to the 27th one, which is URL Tor exit node. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add that to the outside zone, add to block list there. Okay, another big important piece here. You see where it says networks. Okay, little icon here for logging options. By default, it's going to log all these hits if you get a hit on one of those IP or addresses to the Firewall Management Center. If you also want it to go to your syslog server, if you have a SIEM or something like that set up, go ahead and check that box. If you haven't set up your FMC to send to a syslog server, you actually do that under platform settings. You add that IP address for your SIEM or your syslog server, and then you also need to make a change under the advanced tab for your logging servers. We'll zip through that real quick, but if you've done all that and you want to make sure it's actually going there, make sure you check the syslog server here. All right, here's another hidden one. So I told you all of these are like the IP addresses. Scroll down a little bit to the URL ones and you're going to see there's that icon again. It's kind of hidden down there. You got to hit that one too and also say, send this information to my syslog servers, my SIEM, or whatever else I'm sending this stuff to. And we can go ahead and click OK at this point. And we're going to go ahead and click Save in the upper right-hand corner. Now, once we've saved it, we still need to deploy. So the first time we're going to send this out, we're going to actually have to deploy it at the same time too. I'm going to go ahead and click Deploy right here. And I'll probably speed this up when I'm showing you it on the video, but right here I got to record the whole thing. Okay, that finally finished. Now, we think we're done, and you've got the security intelligence list actually out there working on your outside interface right now. There's a couple other settings that we can go over to make sure that we can optimize this a little bit. We're going to go over here to Objects, Object Management. And we're going down here to Security Intelligence. And you're going to see we got Network Lists and Feeds and URL Lists and Feeds and DNS Lists and Feeds. We're going to click on Network Lists and Feeds here. And in here, you see I have a whole bunch of them, but what I'm really looking for is a Cisco intelligence feed. I'm going to go over here, I'm going to edit this, and you're going to be able to see that you can change the update frequency. So by default, it's going to go out to Cisco, and your FMC is going to check for the update every 2 hours by default. You can make that faster. You can go up here to as much as 5 minutes. So it's really how long do you want to wait if a new IP address has been identified as malicious before you actually have taken advantage of adding it to your security intelligence list. So let's say Cisco identifies some new IP addresses that are being used by attackers. You want to be able to block right away with those. You may want to shorten this time frame. So how does that actually work? It doesn't pull down this list every single 5 minutes. What it's actually going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to check the hash. If that, so FMC is going to reach out to Cisco, it's going to compare the hash of the files that it already has versus the hash values of the files that have been advertised as available. If they're the same, it's going to back off for another 5 minutes and then check those hash values again. If one of those hash values change, it's going to pull down that particular file. And these are just text files. They're not that big. In fact, in a minute, and later on in this video, we're going to take a look at where those files are on your devices. But that's how that kind of works right there. It goes out, it checks the hash. If the hash has changed, then it pulls it down. If it hasn't, then we're not going to pull down that file every 5 minutes, but we're going to check every 5 minutes. In this particular case, what I'm setting mine to. It's DNS listen feeds here. So this is the new Cisco DNS and URL intelligence feed, just like the network listen feed. We're going to click on that. And right now I've got this one set to 30 minutes. It's 2 hours by default. The URL one, you can change to 30 minutes. It does the same thing. It goes out and checks the hash value, then comes back in here and tries, if it's the hash value's changed, it pulls the text file down. If it hasn't, it leaves it alone, backs off for 30 minutes, and then checks it again. I'm going to go ahead and click save on this one too. What's kind of nice about this is once you have all of this deployed, once you first did the security intelligence list deployment, if the security intelligence list changes because they put some new URLs or some new IP addresses in it to this particular one here, and it pulls down the new list, you don't need to redeploy. It's going to push those down from the FMC to the FTD anyway. So, it gets a new change, it's going to push it down there. You don't need to worry about deployment. So, like I said, at 5 minutes for this one, your devices are going to be updated really quickly. For the URL ones, for 30 minutes, no deployment required. One of the other questions I often get is, can I actually see the URLs and the IP addresses that are actually listed in these text files that you were just talking about? And the answer is yes, you can, but you got to go into the command line of either the FMC or the FTD to see these. So we're going to go ahead and SSH into the FMC at this point. And we need to go into expert mode. We need to actually go in here to the Linux undersystem, and we're going to sudo into this thing. And these are actually kept under the /var/sf, stood for SourceFire back in the day. And we're going to list these out, and you're going to see we got a whole bunch of them. The ones you're interested in is going to be security intelligence, URL download, and IP reputation download. We're going to first jump into the SIURL download. So let's go into SIURL, and let's spell it right. There we go. And let's list this out in long form so we can see the size of these files. Remember those hash values I was telling you about? Well, there they are. And we'll start with these big ones here, like one of those big ones. These smaller ones might not actually have much in it, but we'll do a big one here. So let's actually less this out. And I'm going to copy that because that would be a nightmare to try and type in. And at the top, it'll tell us, there we go. This is our URL malicious feed. So remember all those 27 groups I told you about, 27 different lists? This is the one for that's classified as malicious. And you can look in here and you can see a lot of crazy URLs and everything. And actually, this looks like something that's been created with a DGA, dynamically generating algorithm for the name of these particular ones. But you can scroll through and see what they are. And you can search on these too if you want, and even count up how many are in there if you want at this point. But it's actually an easier way to do that. I'll show that at the end. But let's go ahead and queue out of this, and we're going to go back. And we're going to go to, what was that called? We're going to change directly into the IP rep underscore download. We're going to list this one out, this long one too. And you can see we got a whole bunch of them in here. So let's go ahead and less this one. It's not quite as big. And you can see, okay, these are all the phishing ones. Remember, this is the IP addresses and stuff. So that's how you can find these. And you can also search for all the different IP addresses that we currently have in our phishing list or whatever list this is. You can't tell just by looking at it, but you can go in and you can find these. In fact, you could even do a grep to search if you're looking for a specific one. If you want to say, I want to see all the malicious ones of these, you can just grep for the word malicious inside here, and it'll probably point you to the right one. So let's test whether or not security intelligence is working and where we can go look to see any security intelligence hits. So what I did is I went in there just like I showed you earlier and found a couple IP addresses that were on the IP security intelligence list there, and we're just going to throw some pings at them. Pretty simple. So let's go ping 151. Let's move this down here out of the way. And they, of course, should fail. Let's spell it right. 80.144.253. And that looks like it's failing. And let's try the next one. Ping 5.9.212.53. And that's failing as well. So where do we look? And remember, this is bi-directional. That's why I'm just kind of doing this from the inside to the outside because it's going to work for outside to inside too. But we're going to go over here to Analysis, Connections, Security Related Events. And there should be two in here now. And there they are. There's that 5.9.212.53 and 151.80.144.53 address that we ping. That's them right there. So that's how you can see the security intelligence hits that you're getting. You could also go up here to Analysis, Unified Events. And there'll be all sorts of stuff in here because we're getting a lot of traffic, but you could just go in here to Action, click on that, and type in block, and apply. And there's that 5.9. Looks like I've had a whole bunch of actions blocked, but there's those two up there as well. And you can see it says security related connections. So, I guess we could have also just done event type. Added in security related connection and apply. And we're kind of moving towards everything being done here under the Analysis Unified Events tab. You probably need to get used to it if you haven't been used to it for a while. So let's talk about a scenario where maybe you want to ensure that security intelligence feature never blocks a certain IP address or a certain domain or URL um, ever. And one of the key features of this is that we have several built-in do not block lists, and we can add IP addresses to those do not block lists. And a do not block list takes precedence over a block list. So if the same IP, Google's DNS is 8.8.8.8 is in the do not block list, and for some reason it gets added to a block list, it's still going to allow the traffic to pass through security intelligence. Now, there could be something else that blocks it, an access control policy rule, a pre-filter rule, something like that. But the security intelligence feature won't actually do the blocking of it. So let's take a look at that real quick. We go to Objects, Object Management, and we're going to go in here, Security Intelligence, Network, Lists and Feeds, and we're looking at, see, this global block list. You edit it and there's nothing in it, and then global do not block this. Same type of thing, and you also notice that you can't actually type in any addresses. I right click on here, it gives me the option to delete. There's nothing to delete right now, but I can't type anything in here. So how do you add something to this global do not block list? Let's go over here to Analysis, and we're going to go to Connection Events. We're going to open that in a new tab and jump over to that tab. And we have a whole bunch of connection events. Let's find something internet enabled here. So here's a internet routable IP 192.111. All you do is you find that IP address, you right click on it and say add to do not block list. Now, that's not obviously set to be blocked, but it's adding it to the list to ensure that this particular IP address never accidentally gets blocked by security intelligence. And you can let's see if we can find something else that's internet routable. I got a lot of RFC 1918 addresses in here, but let's refresh this, see if we can get a different address or something. See what else. Oh, here we go. 40.126. Let's say we want this to always block. Right click, add IP to block list. Okay. So we've added that one to the block list. Now we can go back, we can look inside those object management there. We're going to refresh this screen real quick too. And now when we go, back to security intelligence, network lists and feeds. Now when we go in here, we say, that IP address we added to the do not block list, boom, there it is, 192.111.4.113. And of course, the one we added to the do block list, 40.126.29.6. Okay, where are those? That's another question that comes up. We're going to go to policies, access control. We're going to open that one in a new tab too. We're going to look at our security intelligence here. And you can see right here, global do not block list for URL, global do not block list for IP addresses, and that global block list is right there, the global block. And of course, there's one for URL right below it as well. Global do not block. Where did it go? Where'd it go? Went right. There it is, right next to it. Okay, so those we can add IP addresses to using that menu feature. I'm right clicking on it and I'm adding it either to the block list or the do not block list. As soon as I do that to that on the FMC, it's going to get pushed down to the FTD. So this is really helpful if you're like have an aggressive attacker and you know have intrusion policies keep going off, you know, because they've attacked you, you know, with 20 different attacks and the intrusion policies blocking him. But let's say, for instance, you know, how many more shots at the target there are you going to give them? You know, you can go in there, right click, block, add that to the block list, and from that point on, security intelligence is blocking that source IP address. We are going to be going over what to do if we have a big list of IPs, domains, and URLs that we know of ahead of time. We want to make sure that security intelligence is aware of them so we don't inadvertently block access to those with security intelligence. So first things first, let's make some lists. I don't want that. I want this. There we go. And we're going to just add some IPs in here. Let's add Cloudflare's IP addresses. 1.1.1.2. And we'll cleverly save this as Cloudflare. And let's do another one with some domains and URLs. Let's say we never want to block access to Salesforce or something easy. And you can put a whole bunch of them in here. I'm just adding a few, but I do not want to sit here and type 20 of these types of things in. And we'll save this one as business partners. Biz partners. Okay. Now those are two text files of lists. We're going to go over here to objects, object management, security intelligence, network lists and feeds for the IPs. We are going to add that. We're going to call this one Cloudflare. It is a list, and we're going to browse to it. And there it is. We know we had two of them in here, and we're going to upload. And boom, number of IPs, two of them that it found. Okay, let's save that. And let's also add the domain one, add URL, listen feeds. We called it biz partners. We could actually call it anything. I don't even have to name it the same thing as the text file. Text file is just a text file that I'm importing. Biz partners, select, and there should be one of these. Upload first. There it is, one. All right, save. Okay, we got them. Now we need to apply them. How do we apply them? Same way we did with regular security intelligence. We're going to go to our base policy that feeds into our child policies. Security intelligence. And the first one was Cloudflare. Should be here now. Yep, there it is. Add to do not block. And there it is, adding to the do not block. And the other one was biz partners. Biz partners. Nope. Don't forget, I made it a URL. Oh, there it is too, as soon as I click on it. All right, add to do not block list. Okay, now they're both in here. I set them to any zone, but remember what I said, these are internet routable. Let's do that again and do it right. We're going to say to the outside. There we go. That's better. Network. Got to set the right example. Outside, add to do not block list. Save, deploy, and as soon as I save and deploy, it's going to get pushed from the FMC down to the FTDs, and from that point on, security intelligence won't block those IPs, domains, or URLs. And like I said, something else may. Access control policy, pre-filter list, pre-filter policy could get blocked if you have a allow rule with an intrusion policy set and some kind of malware comes through on it. Those could be still reasons for it to be blocked, but it will not be blocked by security intelligence. Why? Do not block lists take precedence over block lists. And before I forget, remember that what I was talking about with the sending the events to your syslog server instead of just to the FMC? And I went in there and I was messing around with these logging inside of security intelligence here, like clicking on this. I said to send the syslog server. Okay, that's not going to work for you by default unless you've already set your syslog server up. And I'm not going to cover how to do all that on this video. I'll do another one. But what I'm talking about here is inside of, if you go to devices, platform settings, and here I've got a platform settings policy. Maybe we'll talk about that later too. That's like a whole topic in and of itself. But in here is syslog and syslog servers that I have set up so I can, these are the two syslog servers I have set up to receive any information from the FMC, or excuse me, from the FTDs themselves. That's the checkbox I was setting, but that's not the only place you got to do this. You also got to make sure you're referencing it in your access control policy. You're actually going to go in here, going to go under these advanced tab, more logging, and then make sure use the syslog settings configured in the FTD platform settings. If you have all that checked off right, and then you start checking that, send a syslog server, then it's going to actually start sending that extra information. Because here's the thing, the FMC is not a long-term storage solution for all of these events or anything. It's designed to configure and manage your firewalls. If you want long-term storage of events, you're really going to need a SIEM or a syslog of some other kind. And we'll cover I'll go through how to make a good one in this in another video. This video is already getting too long. All right, key points to remember. You can create your own lists and add them to security intelligence. Do not block lists take precedence over block lists. So anything you put in a do not block list is going to be allowed through regardless of what's in security intelligence. But keep in mind that other things may block it. Access control policy, pre-filter list, intrusion rule or something. And finally, security intelligence works bidirectionally. It works inside to outside and outside to inside. And I didn't even cover all the different ways security intelligence can work for you. We didn't talk about feeds. Feeds probably take me 15 minutes to get through, so I'm going to have to make another video for that one.